We are live. Okay. Oh my God, what happened?
Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before. And even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 still go, 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 slow, go, still go, 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 still go. I never answer to no, no, still go.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Spreading Love Unapologetically podcast. Today, it is Saturday, September 14th, and my name is Tamura Freeman. I will be your host today, and I have some amazing gentlemen in the studio today. We have Mr. Selwyn Jones.
Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Selwyn
Jones.
The camera just messed it up.
I let him mess his name up, and then we have Miss. I'm just gonna say Dr. Bridges because you know what? I am not. I'm not pronouncing these names. Both of y'all names are so close. Look at it. Look at
Bridges' name is a good idea.
Dr. Bridges is in the house.
Hey, y'all.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the studio, gentlemen. Welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started in our conversation, I just wanted to briefly, and I talked to Dr. Bridges about this because he was asking me tomorrow, what are we going to talk about? And I was like, you know what? A lot of people really do not know about the inception of the police force. If you look at history, if you go back and you look at history, literally after the emancipation came the Reconstruction era. And that's when the original police force came into. Actually, it was even before, because during slavery they had slave patrols, and they actually took an oath of office. They actually said an oath the same way our current police force does, and from there into current, we have the modern police force as we know it. And when you think about it, from black codes to Jim Crow laws, Jim Crow era, where these slave patrols and then whatever you want to call them, police force, their job, their responsibility was to be brutal, to be disrespectful,
black people
against people of color. So why would we expect anything less? But what I like, what Mr. Dr. Bridges talked about yesterday is what are we going to do and how are we going to change? And so you guys, like I said, I have some amazing people in the studio today. So I'm going to get started with you, Mr. Jones, because a lot of people don't know who you are.
Wow. Hello, everyone. I am Selwyn Jones.
Selwyn Jones.
Selwyn. I'm the uncle of the late George Floyd, and I travel all over the world advocating for justice and equality. And my mainstay is that slave patrol, that police brutality aspect of this world, where we have been racially profiled since the day of conception, since the day we came here. And it has not stopped. You know, as Dr. Bridges obviously knows, 40% of the world crime is committed by the smallest population of people on the universe. America, which is 5% of the world's population, commits 25% of the crime in the world. But how is that when there's only 42 million black people in America? So those numbers are definitely insane. And a lot of that is put upon us because of the color of our skin, because of our economical, social background. You know, so hey, in 1941, after the World War II, they wanted to have the first-time home buyers plan, and for people to have a suburban area. You know, well, guess what happened? They gave other people the first-time home buyers plan, and they gave us what we know now is the ghetto, which was called subsidized housing.
It's housing.
So
Yeah.
so that's a little bit about Uncle Selwyn. Uncle Selwyn does this every day, all day, and I basically speak for the people that want George Floyd, because there's a lot of people that I have known and found and I see every day that didn't have the spotlight on their death. So that's what I do.
Thank you. So let me ask you a question. Um, I always ask people, and I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Dr. Bridges, but I remember the day that George was murdered, and it was all over the television. And it's been since, I mean, it wasn't just nationwide, it was worldwide. And it's something that I've been thinking about often, because it's like, since that time, you know, so many other incidences have happened, murders have happened, and people go, oh, let's pray for him. Let's go downtown. I've been there. I've been to Columbus. We did it all, you know. But what do you think is the answer to these problems that have existed since this country was formed?
Doc, that's on you.
Doc,
Well,
introduce
first
yourself,
off,
Dr.
let me
Bridges.
thank. Well, I simply introduced myself as a kid that was born and reared in Cleveland, Ohio, and spent most of my career in the South. Surprisingly, I survived it. And I'm going to say this to Mr. Jones and to you, Tamura. He and I could both be running for president because nobody can pronounce our first names correctly.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Let me answer your question.
Doc,
Yeah,
wait,
my real name is pronounced Aylwin again. But
Okay.
it's
Okay,
surprising
Bridges,
you
Mr.
mentioned the
Bridges.
color of our skin. I mean, you can call me Al. If you owe me a lot of money, call me Mister. But all three of us have what I call a permanent tattoo. When we walk in the room, nobody recognizes us as a man or a woman. They say that black man, that black woman. Okay? And how do we change this issue of black men and women being killed by the police? The one thing I firmly believe in, we have to become engaged in this nasty game called the political process. We have to become voters, and we also have to become office holders, but we have to become the right office holders and the right voters. See, one of the things that if you look over history, and thank you for that brief history about what the police force was initially created to do, it was to recapture us.
Yes.
And, you know, let me put this in as a side. Everybody thinks of New York City as the financial district of the world. A lot of people aren't aware that slaves were sold on Wall Street. That's how Wall Street got its name. We were chained to the wall and sold. But let's go back to the police violence. See, one of the against black men and women, I'm going to emphasize black men and women. We're about 3 times more likely to be killed than white people in an interaction with a police officer. And somebody, or we would say as quote unquote researchers, that's a statistical anomaly. It should be in reverse. Our number should be lower than the white society because we represent a less percentage of the population. When you look at the FBI data about the killings of police officers, and let me say this in general, and I'm not taking anything away from what happened to George Floyd. George Floyd was murdered. It's quite that simple.
Yes, he was.
The FBI data does not segment if I was running, let's say I had robbed the bank and shot 2 people on the way out the door. Let's just say that's a justifiable homicide by the police because I turn around and shoot at the police officer. It makes no sense to what happened to George Floyd or if I get stopped for making an illegal right turn without a turn signal, I should not end up dead with a police officer interaction.
I agree.
But that's what's happening in Black. Okay. See, one, and you know, and
mind if I interject?
when I say conclude this one.
Okay.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
No,
Sure.
go ahead and conclude. I'm waiting. I'm listening.
No, go ahead and interject. No, seriously, go ahead.
Well, I mean, as you were talking, I was just thinking about, well, you know, when we think about history and we think about the slave patrols and then we think about the Reconstruction era, and then we think about the Black codes, we already know that quickly thereafter, they started charging so-called Black people with very small minor infractions and placing them in prison. And that's where we started. It was convict leasing to you know, work the plantations, to work the mines, to work different businesses. And I believe that mindset within the political and within the police system has continued throughout the day, especially amongst the police force. The goal is to place them in prison. Why not? Because they make money. It's not about, America is a corporation, right? It is a corporation. That's been proven. It's a corporation. It's a business. And so how do they make money? If you go to prison, they're going to make money.
It's the modern day chain gang. Back in
Exactly.
the old days, they used to bust
Very
blocks
modern.
and build roads. Now they incarcerate you and they give you 40 cents a day. So not only does the federal government give a state or entity X amount of dollars to house them, they also earn an extra $2,000. So an average prisoner, now don't quote me on these numbers, but the average prisoner is responsible for about $4,000 a month.
Yep.
To a state. Now think about that. And there's what, 2.8 million people incarcerated?
Yes.
Now the 2.8 million people, 1.45 of them are Black. But yet there's 320 million other people in America, and there's 42.6 million people that look like us.
Yep.
How the heck does that happen, y'all? You know? And it happens because it was designed. It was designed to destroy the Black race. And I'm not Black. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm
not a color. I won't let nobody call me Black. I'm sorry. I will not let. I am not the color of the crayon. Nope.
This is reality. We were given that put us in the same place so we could all be ignorant, so we could all be dumb.
Yep.
They gave us poor medical, so we died quicker than anybody else because of the systemic health issues that we have, because we did not get the right medicine years ago. So all I'm telling you is this was designed for us not to win. But yet there are people like Mr. Bridges, there's people like Selwyn Jones, there's people like a lady here, and there's a plethora of us that won't give up and will not succumb to the reality in which we were supposed to be in. And that was supposed to be looked down upon by all the other races, and they still do that. But we have learned how to rise above. We don't give up.
Oh, no.
How do we fix this police issue, Doc? I think, and one of my biggest issues and problems that I have, when you look at the Frank Tysons in Cleveland, when you look at the Sonia Massey, when you look at the George Floyds, and I could probably call out 1,000 names.
Tamura, yes.
George. Those were all concerning mental health issues.
Yes.
One of the biggest things in the world now, they criminalize mental health issues, so they treat you as a criminal instead of somebody that has a mental health issue or mental health trauma. And that's one of the biggest problems. Sonia Massey, they knew who Sonia Massey was. They've been to her house.
Yes.
When she walks through the door and she says, "Are you okay?" Well, first of all, we're introducing a law that's called the Medical Civil Rights, which would grant anybody that comes in contact with any peace officer medical assistance. So when George Floyd said, "I can't breathe," guess what? He's still living. When Tyrese Nichols was out there hollering, he's still living. when Ahmaud Arbery laid on the ground for 21 minutes after they shot him, he would be living.
Yes.
So, and hiring practices, and I said this on CNN and they didn't like me at all. Would you hire somebody that was convicted of child molestation 5 times to work at a daycare?
No.
So why would you hire somebody that has been at 6 different police in 2.5 years with 2 DUIs? That is a time bomb that's ready to explode.
I agree.
So these people have to. Derek Chauvin, he had 18 write-ups in 10 years. So that's a ticking time bomb. So we have to figure out how the hiring practices and every police station has got to be warranted at a certain level that these monsters don't get in. Because don't get me wrong, all police officers aren't bad. We need them. All doctors, there's bad doctors, you know? But it's the good ones that we concentrate on and needs to give us help to get the bad apples out.
I agree. That's a start. And I also agree with Dr. Bridges when he said the political system, we need to have the right people in place.
And
not just any black person so I call them so-called black people because I don't like to be called black. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not the color of a crayon.
Right, it has to be the right.
Oh, I tell people all the time when I used to sell vacuum cleaners for a living, Dr. Bridges, a long time ago. And somebody, you know, I live in South Dakota, so they ain't seen a lot of people of color. And they would use the word colored on me, Doc. And I'd be like, man, I didn't know I was one of the Crayola crayons.
Right.
I was 64.
Right.
I got my own color, man. You know what I'm saying? So
my auntie used to say that. She's from that era. She definitely used to say colored people. And I had to correct her. I love her. God bless her soul. But
hey, man, hey, if I'm colored, I'm not colored. Because look at you. You turn red when you get mad. You turn, you know what I'm saying? You turn white if you're scared. So, hey, who's really the colored person? You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I agree. So one of the things I hear us talking about the political side, I hear us talking about making changes, you know, for mental health, the mental health piece. Mm-hmm. But what I don't hear us really talking about is accountability on our part.
Oh, yes.
You know, one of the things I've seen so many podcasts, I've seen so many broadcasts, I've seen just so many conversations. But the honesty, because I am definitely unapologetically free and me. I'm going to say what I need to say. And in all honesty, I know there's mental health. I have a son sitting in prison right now because of mental health. I know there's so many issues in our communities. But the reality is we got some issues going on. You know, we got some serious issues going on in our communities. We're not getting the help, true. But our young people, and some folks out here, I mean, sometimes I walk down the street and I'm like, are they going to kill me just because I'm walking down the street? You know, the decency and the moral compass has decreased significantly. You know, people they don't have respect, especially for us, for their elders. Lord forgive me, moms and dads, both responsibility, but seeing young babies out here twerking, when I say moral compass, I'm talking about the real issues, because and I know about the school to prison pipeline. I get it. I understand how the mental part is, we're real as children, but at some point we've got to take responsibility for these actions, because it's a trickle down effect. If it starts in the home, if you're in the home doing certain things and they're being subjected and they're looking at so many different things, what do you expect is going to happen? You know, these video games, they're dangerous, they're violent. You know, this is all these kids are being subjected to right now. At some point, we've got to take responsibility and say, it's time to stop this mess. It's time to stop giving them our money. And it's time to switch it back to, you know, or change the direction of something. What do you think?
Girl, go ahead, Doc.
Let me address it this way. let me address it this way first.
Okay.
Most of most of us can walk down the street and you can see a physical abnormality in me. If I'm missing a limb or if I'm limping, you can say something's wrong with your leg or arm. Behavior and mental health is a hidden disease. You really don't know if I'm depressed. You don't know if I'm a schizophrenic, and I'm being serious here, unless I'm walking around with some aluminum foil on my head. See, one of the things, and I think both of you addressed it, it's called the industrial prison complex. And we can go back, even in yesteryear history, but let's come forward a little bit when Ronald Reagan was the president. Ooh. That's when private prisons came about. And a private prison is no different than having, if the three of us own the Marriott Hotel. We don't make money unless that hotel the beds are occupied. And that's when this unlimited sentencing came about, because again, under the Reagan administration and his friends, they opened up all these prisons across the country. Yep. The other thing that's important here, we've adopted the Willie Lynch syndrome, and for us, as a culture.
Yes.
We've segregated ourselves among ourselves. We segregate ourselves by the hue of our skin, by the gender, by education, by fraternity, by sorority, or whatever. All right. I'm not trying. I will never absolve the white man for our ills, but somebody who's broken you is not going to fix you. We have to fix ourselves. And just to piggyback on what Tamura said, rearing starts at home. None of us, no Black person that I know, teaches their child how to steal. No, you talk about the respect. Most parents, and that's the general statement, teach their children, if you respect me in my own house, I know what you're going to do on the street. Yeah. Now, once you hit that mythical age of majority, let's say 18, and you go out there and be crazy, well, you're crazy on your own. Now, yes. See, the other problem, and there's some systemic issues here. If you look across this country, all of the urban centers, which is code speak for Black and brown and poor whites, all the urban school districts are failing. Yes. In Cleveland, we have a 70% illiteracy rate amongst our children and Black folks, older and adults. If I keep you stupid, we have to come to grips with the fact white man's not going to fix us. He's not. We got to fix ourselves. I agree. And we have to, and we have to learn that, we're going to have to demand things. We're going to have to stop asking for. We're going to have to demand things. Because if you're not going to give it to me, I'm going to take it some kind of how. And I'm just going to, real quick, I'm going to use Boeing Airlines or airplane systems. They went on strike. The workers said, no, you said this 14 years ago. It didn't happen. 14 years is a long time. Right. And that's what we're going to have to do here as a culture of people. And until we are willing to take that risk of standing up and speaking out about what we deserve, what you owe me. Yeah. We're always going to be in this position. This is a two cultural race, right? This is Black and white. But for some reason, we keep finishing fourth in a two-man race. Yeah. I agree.
I'm sitting here, Miss T, and I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, wow, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. I see a plethora of people all the time, and look at that. Remember in the 90s when they said you can't whoop your kids no more?
Oh my God, yep.
I still go back to that. So these people between that 36 and that 42, because they want nothing wrong with a butt whooping. My mama ruled by fear, by intimidation. Whatever she said is whatever I did.
Yes.
I grew up in a house with no indoor plumbing, no running water. I grew up poor. And my mom instilled in me, if you keep fighting and you keep trying and you don't give up, things happen. But it came from the home. I see a mother that got a 14-year-old kid outside at 3 o'clock in the morning. He stole a car and the police shoots him in the back 4 times when he's jumped out of the car. I'm mad at the police because cowards only shoot people in the back. But the first thing I ask in my brain, where were you at that your baby is 12, 13 years old and he's out at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Thank you.
You have to take accountability for that.
Yes.
Because reality is, nothing good happens after 12. You know? So a lot of these people want to put things on others when it's hard for me to look at somebody and go like, wow, man, you don't get a hate for bad parenting. You remember back in the day when grandmama was 62, the daughter was 40, the granddaughter was 21, 22, and she had a 3-year-old kid? Baby, guess what, y'all? How old is grand now? Grand 36. Grand still going to the club. The daughter's 21 with a 6-year-old kid.
Yes.
So we're missing that big element there. You know, I want to bring the church back into the community.
Yes.
The church has forgotten the community.
They've forgotten their purpose.
You know, so, and I created an event called Put the Guns Down, Pick Up the Weights. And I'm instilling that within churches, within communities. Because remember the old days when the police used to ride by and they used to have a popsicle for you? You know, and they used to talk to you and they motivate you?
Yep.
That's not happening anymore. When people are afraid to call the police because you have a 50-50 chance, especially if you're black.
I'm living.
Whether you get killed. There's 2 situations that happened in Milwaukee. These guys are under total mental stress. They locked themselves in the bathroom. They were impaired. But just because you're high don't mean you should die.
I agree.
When they came there to communicate with them, they treated them less than human beings. Their first response was to use foul language, to call them names. They weren't de-escalating. They were escalating the situation. Now, if you're having a mental health issue and things are already going 1,000 miles an hour in your brain, once you see a gun, once you see that badge, once you see this guy with all this equipment on him, the first thing you get is an anxiety situation. And that doesn't end well for people of color and for no people right now. So it's got to start at the home. There's no empathy. There's no respect anymore. And when I speak, sometimes I always ask young folks, I love your fight, but what are you fighting for?
Yes.
Because there's so many options, the social media, the MTV,
horrible,
all of these things. And remember when they keep Sanford and Son off television in the 70s because he said the N-word? Oh my Lord. He would be PG. Nobody would watch him now. And Fred Sanford was funny. But nobody would watch him now because that is so
it's too clean. It's too clean.
It's too clean right now. You know,
it's not enough violence and vulgarity and
hip hop music. And I've got a lot of people that I know from the hip hop genre. Whatever happened, one of my best friends is the man from Earth, Wind and Fire, Verdell White. Whatever happened to Ken Knox? Give me just a little more time. You know what I'm saying? Simple, sweet music. Why does it got to be a B and an H? Yeah. And people are putting this out there. People are pushing people. They glamorize this, and they're disrespecting and humiliating the race, the women, the people. But people pay for that, so they commercializing people that, for all intents and purposes, you wouldn't invite in your house to sit down with your kids.
I agree.
So this goes. Go ahead.
Oh no, excuse me. You know, you mentioned the church, and I'm just going to add something on to what you said. I happen to be 25 years old, and I remember the church used to be the most important and significant entity in the Black community. So there's two things we have to understand here. First off, we don't have a sense of community anymore. The Black church is no longer the most important entity in the community. And I agree with you, Mr. Jones. The church should come back, but the church has to get away from being this self-aggrandizing, financial, driving self and get back to preaching the word of God. Okay. You mentioned hip hop. In one of my professional ventures, I had an opportunity to sit in the room with a gentleman that everybody knows is 50 Cent. He didn't come in a sleeveless t-shirt. This brother walked in, and I'm going to totally cheat him. A $3,000 custom-made blue double-breasted suit, probably a $400 custom-made shirt, and a $200 tie. When he was buying vitamin water, we did the due diligence, and I was asked to sit in the meeting because there were no other Black faces in the firm at the time. And he looked at me and said, "Hey, Al, we make money for the firm." He bought 50 Cent. He bought vitamin water. And we drove around Cleveland for about 2.5, 3 hours because he wanted to see what Cleveland was like. I said, "Well, I don't want you to miss your flight," show you how naive I was. He said, "I'm not going to miss a flight. I'm on a jet. I'm on a net jet. I can leave when I want to." All three of us grew up in the era where we played Cowboys and Indians, right? We watched Roy Rogers or whatever. And I don't think, as far as I know, I didn't, and I'm sure the both of you didn't. We didn't go out and shoot anybody. At 13, I was thinking about being 15, 16, so I could get my temps and maybe drive somewhere.
Yeah.
At 16, I was thinking about graduating from high school, escaping from my parents' home and maybe going to college or whatever. I know the term is often overused. There's some systemic issues that we have to overcome as people.
Yes.
When I grew up, my grandparents lived within walking distance. My aunts lived within walking distance. Granted, the world has gotten small. People live in California, even out of the country. So that sense of community and family, and if you begin to spell the word family, you'll see the word familiar. Yes. We're not familiar with each other. It used to be up and down the street. I'm going to call your parents because I see you acting, and Miss Smith or Miss Tamura would grab you, chastise you, even spank you. And by the time you got home, the phone rang.
Yes, baby. Yes, the whole community.
So,
and then you got your brother.
A child.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even know our own neighbors anymore. We don't know our neighbors. This is the thing.
As I was listening to you guys, so I remember my dad. My dad was. We ain't gonna talk about my dad, but anywho, my father would leave a weapon on the table, a gun on the table. I would clean the whole house, clean around the table,
Never touch it. Never touch it.
Didn't touch it. Didn't touch it. He never had to worry about me touching his stuff. He never had to worry about. We don't have these.
A loaded gun will never go off.
Exactly.
Well, why? See, we know. See, the question is, and I'm saying this as I'm going to say it this way. We know the what. The question is why. Why is a 13-year-old walking to school with a gun?
Yes, because they.
Why is it 13, 14, 11, even as young as 11? Why is it 11 through 18, 17-year-olds still in a car?
Yes.
I can only share with you what my parents said to me, to us.
Huh? Let me hear it.
If you succumb to peer pressure, you're crazy. You better succumb to parental pressure.
Yes.
You better succumb, and I know you're saying, you better succumb to parental pressure first. See, and you mentioned it, Mr. Jones. I think you said the 90s. Children can pick the phone up and call on their parents. See, the government took the responsibility of the parents.
Yep.
You can't come in my house. My kid, I'm just you. My kid, well, my dad didn't buy me an Xbox or whatever.
Right.
So, thank you. In comes the social worker. Why does a 7-year-old have a cell phone?
Thank
better
you.
come home and ask me, can you go down the street to see Tamura?
Right.
You're not gonna call me and say I'm at Tamura.
Right.
I lived down a dirt path, okay, a mile long, and across the field was my next door neighbor's house. I had to ask my mama if I could go across the field because I knew if I did not do what she told me to do, she was going to tell me to go get a switch, or she was going to use the drop cord, and my mama would be locked up in jail, y'all, for 200 years. But guess what? Did it hurt me? Did it hurt me to have respect for my parents? Did it hurt me to have respect for my... And hey, you remember this, y'all? If your aunt, your cousin, and little Bo Peep come by the house and kids was around, y'all better be seen, not heard. Because if you were to interrupt Mama's conversation with Aunt Louise and all these people, boy, what you doing acting like a fool?
Yes.
You know, my son, I got a 37-year-old, and he tried that, Doc. He's like, if you hit me, I'm going to call the police on you. I'm like, I threw my phone at him. I'm like, you know, the number's either 911. They came to my house, Mr. Jones. He called me a dumb SOB in my house. And I've been feeding him since he was a baby. You know, and he ain't going to disrespect me, if and the but.
No, it's sad.
And they don't come up asking me, and I'm like, yo, man, you know what? If he gonna disrespect me, my mama taught me disrespect was not needed or not wanted.
Yes.
And you're not gonna stand in my house and disrespect me. If you do, we gonna have some problems.
Well, you said it. You said they took the responsibility out of the parents' hands. Yep. They definitely did. I remember them trying to do that with my kids. But I was one of them parents. I would go to school and beat your butt right there. I didn't care.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if I have to leave my job, and I have to come up to the school, it's going down. So
my mama was not my mama worked in the chicken house picking up eggs. If somebody had to, back then you had to call somebody to get in contact with mama. But if somebody told my mama that I was acting fool, Lord have mercy, I immediately got afraid because I knew the consequences. And there's nothing wrong by fear, by intimidation because of parents. Because juvenile detention centers, they God bless you. I got a buddy that's the head of the juvenile detention center.
Talk to me, Jarvis. She said
South Dakota. And
brother. Okay.
He has, and I talked to him last week, he's got 5 kids in there that are under the age of 14 years old for murder. And it starts someplace. And where do you learn all of the things for life? At home. Yeah. I'm not saying that parents are talking about shooting people and stuff, but somebody's saying something crazy because that 14-year-old kid that shot up the school last week.
Yeah.
We went out there and the thing that bothered me the most. Now, Doc, I don't know if you feel this way, but I know you do. The thing that bothered me the most is I went to Buffalo, New York, when that young kid shot up the people in Buffalo. They did not arrest his parents. This young man that immediately arrested his father. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. If you're under the age of 18 years old, and like Kyle Rittenhouse, oh my God, don't get me going on that.
Oh my God.
How in the world? The only reason why they let that boy out is because these Caucasian people that he killed and he shot the arm off a brother. Most of the people, I had people calling me and they should have acquitted him because those people were bad people. They thought they were black people that he killed. So as long as you're advocating for people, for the movement, you're just as bad as they treat you as bad as they treat us. And you're gonna tell me that Kyle Rittenhouse shouldn't be locked up in jail for 2 life sentences? That's the dude that shot the people down in Waukesha, Wisconsin, for the Blake kid and George Floyd and they were marching. and he's walking down the middle of the street with an AR-15. We had a water gun walking down the street, we would be dead. It's like the surgeons at the White House, January 6th. How many caskets would we have? They still would be burying people. Not nobody died. So this systemic problem that we're having, we got to get a hold of it. We got to get a hold of it because
let me add this comment to what Mr. Jones has said. You know, we're victims of our socialization. You can be a good victim or bad. And maybe it's just my limited circle of people I know. I don't know of any parent who's teaching their kids how to rob a bank, sell drugs, or whatever the case might be. Okay. But the other thing, and going back to the church discussion here, if you go to Exodus 15, all right, Exodus 15, that's where you'll find the 10 Commandments. And all of them are important. I'm not going to say one's more important than the other. But if you go to the 5th commandment, and the listeners can look it up for themselves, it gives them something to do. That's what's important. The other thing that's as within our culture, all right, we always have to have what I call the discussions. When we were younger, we got the look. Our parents didn't have to say a thing. The look just was enough. Then now we have to have the discussion with our young men and women. If you get pulled over, you have to do this. Now, I cannot tell you what it means to be white because I was born black, woke up black, live black, and going to die black. Okay, excuse the.
I agree.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
50. But see, the question that I have, and I saw, do white parents have the same discussions with their children?
No, they don't have
to.
to.
Or is there some level of privilege that they don't have to have that discussion?
They don't have to.
Yeah.
You've mentioned something well,
thank you.
See, and it goes back to the police brutality discussion that we were having started with. There's more good police officers than bad police officers, but they don't want to weed themselves out. The system will take them out. Will not take them out. They know what these men and women are doing. They know.
Good old boy system.
And it takes what, 6, 7, 20 times?
I want to welcome
Mr.
Mr. Minor. I'm sorry, it's late, and I know, but Mr. Minor just joined us. Theodis Minor.
At what
I'm sorry.
point?
His name says Theodis Minor, but that's not his name. His name is Elijah Y. Mujahid. I don't know why it says Theodis Minor, but sir, thank you for joining us. If you wanted to piggyback, now's your time.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Oh wow, I didn't know y'all can be heard. I agree with him from what I've heard so far. Sorry that I missed the beginning, but I was busy doing something. I think the police brutality goes way back. I don't know if you all mentioned during the time of slavery. That was the beginning, and that mentality still persists in today's police forces all over the country. You know, and like the brother said, until they remove them from the system, it's going to continue. And so, what do you do to remove them from the forces? You know, that's the question that I think we all must question ourselves by or with. You know, how can we remove that mentality? You know, I think it's in the fabric of America, though, because it's been here for so long. Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Minor, you're right. It's in the fabric, but at some point in time, a towel, even a blanket, begins to unravel and wear out. See, one of the things I'll speak specifically to Cleveland. There was a issue passed here called Issue 24, where you have civilians are supposed to determine the level of discipline of the inactions of a police officers here. They've been in this commission has been in place for 2 years. They have not heard one disciplinary case, not one. You see, one of the things that, again, I mentioned it earlier, I don't want to make this an I statement. See, we have to become actively involved and engaged in the process to change the system. Because
Mm-hmm.
as long as we're on the outside, if you look at it as a bicycle, the big sprocket is the first one closest to the front tire. The small sprocket's in the back. See, right now we happen to be the small sprocket. We have to move ourselves to become the big sprocket, driving the pedals because of, and making the speed. Because as long as we're at the end, we're going to get what's given to us. And when I was in corporate America, even in academia, there's 3 rule books that exist in life. The one that the 4 of us are given, the one that they are given, and the one rule book we never freaking get to see. That's the one that's used against us.
Yes.
Right.
Until we write the rules, we're going to succumb to somebody else's mistakes.
Yes, I agree. We have the ability and the education, although we don't seem to fill the position for some reason. So I think that's part of the problem as well.
Uh,
I mean,
I can tell you this.
Well, I'm going to say just real quick.
mm,
Well, it's 2 words. I don't want to say leave us with. We become fearful of standing up and speaking out. And when fear sets in, the next disease, the worst disease known to mankind, is apathy. We become apathetic. We don't want to do anything. Well, I tried this and it didn't work, so I quit. So we just don't care. Some of us, let me put that word in there.
Good point. Very valid point.
We become apathetic. We just
where
don't care.
there's no hope,
That's what
there's
happened
no
to
change.
us.
Where there is hope, where there is no hope, there is no change. Where there is change, there is hope. I live by this mantra all the time: dream, breathe, deliver. We've been dreaming for hundreds of years. We've been breathing, accepting a lot of things that were given to us. Now we must deliver. And I can promise you this, Brother Bridges, there will be some folks in Cleveland that will be incarcerated in the next year because of police brutality. I can promise you that. Because Cleveland is off the chain.
Yep.
You've got a little 8-year-old boy, no, 12-year-old boy that got kicked in the face by a police officer 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And there's a date for his homegoing. You've had several incidents in Cleveland that has happened over the last 2 months. And so we're working on Cleveland really, really, really hard. We just have to keep these conversations going. Communication, conversation, motivation. And sometimes you got to irritate people and you have to educate people. Because, a lot of people just don't know. And as you said, Doc, they don't care. Well, we have to make them care. We have to show them that we are worthy. And it don't matter what you think about me. It's what I think about me. And a lot of people are still stuck on, man, well, I got to be like this. You got to be like one person, yourself. Now, there's one thing that this is going to be touchy, but I just got to drop on. We talked about the family. We talked about the churches. I spoke at, oh my God, I don't remember where it was, but I said this. Maybe I'm crazy. And if there's, and I was speaking in the college, and I was like, is there any young men out there from 18 to 24? A lot of brothers raised their hand. Y'all ready for this one? Don't cut Uncle Selwyn off. Stop serial fornicating. If you don't want it forever, don't lay with it.
Say less.
67% of our sisters are raising babies by themselves. It takes a man to show a woman how to treat a lady, how to have respect. So we need to calm that down, little fellas. This ain't a sport. Don't be serial fornicating.
Thank you for saying that, sir.
right.
I know people look at me like, oh my God, Selwyn, did you really just say that, man? I see it all the time. A lot of these police brutality cases that I'm involved in, you see the mother fighting because the dad has too much of an ego. They cannot get in their emotions, So when you see the mother fighting tooth and nail, I've seen people lose their teeth. I've seen people have strokes. I've seen people that die because they're fighting for theirs. And you have somebody that's supposed to be beside you that gets missing in the time of need. That's wrong. My mom and daddy died together 68 years. You know what I'm saying? So, that's another thing. So, young
Okay.
fellows, young ladies, young gentlemen, we can eat this all day long.
All day long. Listen, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming to the show. I want to go with some last minute comments here before we end the show. This right here, I'm gonna need y'all gentlemen to come back on, all three of you, and hopefully Jarvis will come on with us because we need some different perspective as well. So I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna start with you, Dr. Bridges. We're looking for last minute comments. Anything that you want to put out?
I'm going to say this because we're in the midst of a presidential election. Vote. Your voice is your vote is your voice. Stand up and speak out. And more importantly, understand we are a surviving culture. We've survived 400 plus years of degradation, discrimination, racism, brutality, and we're still here.
Yes.
But vote.
Oh, Mr. Mr. Mujahid. Any last comment?
I would say that education is the key because we're not understanding the levels of politics that we're dealing with to place ourselves in those positions that we need to be. Rites of passage, and all these programs should be implemented for the young men. The brothers speak about, raising men to be men. We don't have the curriculum that will teach them to be men. They don't have an idea. So what we do, we got the rappers, basketball players. We need people in positions of politics, man. That's supposed to always change this world, and we need to think about that.
Thank
I'm
you.
getting 30. Okay, go ahead on. We'll discuss this some other time. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mujahid. Mr. Jones, any last
I'm
words?
like my, I'm like Michael Jackson. Don't stop till you get enough. I'm not gonna stop until I get enough change.
Yes.
I'm not gonna stop until I get enough change. I'm gonna die doing this, or unfortunately, people that have had this job before me had a untimely uh, ending to their life. I saw my nephew die May the 26th, 2020, and I seen everything that ever happened to anybody that had to do with racism or hate. And I looked myself in the mirror, and after hearing my big sister's baby boy cry out for my sister, that I didn't even know it was him when I first started looking at it. And I promised him, and I promised your children, your grandchildren, that I was going to make a difference in this world by giving the platform that I was given to be able to open my mouth and let people see my freckles, because we have to keep fighting to make a difference in this world, because we obviously know we have people fighting against us. So we got to take that. I mean, we got to take that lead and keep on pounding. Doc, I'll see you October 2nd. We ain't eating no walleye. We ain't drinking no water. We're drinking sweet tea or Diet Coke. That's what I want to see you.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you,
You know what I'm
gentlemen.
saying? I'm saying. Thank you, Miss Tate. Let's do this again. This was fun,
Thank
man.
y'all. We
This
definitely
was
gonna
fun.
have to come back on real soon.
Mr. Money,
Yes, sir.
put your name in the chat, and I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna say this because people call me every morning before 9 o'clock. I say I work on black time. I don't wake up till 10.
Right on.
So we need for you to be a little bit, on time the next time, because I enjoyed you for that small bit of time that I was enjoying it.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, next time I'll be prompt. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
I
it was on brother
apologize.
time, brother Bridges. It was on brother time. It was on brother time.
Oh, that was
Yes, sir.
funny. Y'all
I
hold right
appreciate y'all.
there. Thank
All
y'all.
right, thank you.
Hold
Nice
it right
meeting everybody.